I, Doris, swear that I shall be a friend to my fellow Dorises, even at a social distance.
I, Doris.
I shall use my voice to amplify the voices of my fellow Dorises.
I, Doris.
And I, Doris, shall support the NHS and never vote Conservative.
I, Doris.
Just some Doris. You can just ignore us. Don't need to know my name. Girls are all the same. Fags are all the same. Chicks are all the same. Doris is our name.
Hello, Dorises.
Hi, Doris.
It seems like ages since I saw you all. How did your Christmas go, Doris?
Well,
Doris down there.
Yeah. Doris A, is it? Or Doris B, Doris C. Christmas was good. I mean, Christmas was the same as Christmas always is for me, which is basically not seeing anybody and stuffing my face with food. Although this time we did have company because we were bubbling with one of my friends who lives by herself, and she came round for Christmas, so it was lovely.
Same here, actually. We had our bubble guests for Christmas, which meant that we had one more person in our house than we usually have at Christmas. So it was really nice. Really nice.
Yes. Oh, but I've been starved of kind of music. I don't know about you, but the lack of live music is really starting to get me down. I'm so desperate to jump up and down in a sweaty room. It's horrible.
Definitely. I mean, I've tried to make it at home in my living room with the heating up and the lights off, but it's just not the same.
I was doing my tax return today and going through all the money that I spent 2019 to 2020 was basically on gigs. It was just drinks at gigs. It was a little snapshot of the world before COVID, really. Before the ridiculous things that I used to spend money on.
But it was a worthwhile investment, wasn't it?
Oh, it was so lovely. But yeah, it was a nice little reminder of all the gigs that we've played. And I was thinking about Newport and Rebellion Festival and all those nice things. So hopefully I'll get to spend some more money later in the year.
Oh, that would be nice.
We will gig again. It will happen.
Well, we've got a lovely Dorising podcast today with some lovely, lovely guests.
Oh, that's great. Why don't you tell us who they are then?
We've got Charley Stone, our favourite guest.
CFS?
We love her so much that she's just our semi-regular guest now, I think.
She is.
I think she's got a new song to tell us about as well, which is quite exciting. We've got the lovely Helen McCookerybook who's going to join us. And I've got a feeling that she might treat us to a song as well, which would be lovely. We like a bit of live performance.
Well, then we get some live music, don't we? Yeah, a little bit.
And we've got the awesome Joe Dark, who some might know from the band the Twistettes.
Great
Scottish duo, the Twistettes. Love them.
Yeah.
But she's also launched a new solo project called Minerva Wakes, which I think she's going to tell us about. So lots of exciting things. And
that is.
I just heard the doorbell.
Did you now?
Ding dong.
Who's ringing the bell?
You can ring my bell. It's Charley Stone.
Oh, hi, Charley Stone.
Hi, Dorises.
How are you?
Not bad.
You've all got your bright, colourful tailbuds on, which the listeners won't be able to see, but I get the benefit of them, so that's good.
Well, we're very dedicated to the cause, you see.
I wear this all the time.
Your abode's looking different. Is this your usual abode, or is this a view that we've not been treated to before?
It's just a different view because I usually sit in my bay window and it's too cold for that today. So I have, and also, this isn't how it ever looks. I've basically pulled this item of furniture forward because I'm drying some clothes on the radiator behind me. So it's a completely unique experience you'll get to, a unique view of the CFS abode.
It's a glimpse into the rock star existence, isn't it, really?
Very rock and roll.
Yeah.
It is. I feel like this is Hello magazine or something. Charley Stone at home in her glamorous North London abode.
I think that we may have just opened up a new line of Dorising podcasts here.
Oh, actually, yeah, we could have done like a through the keyhole type thing. You could have just shown us around your glamorous apartment, and then we could have guessed who you were.
Not today.
No.
No.
I think it's unfair to do it without due warning.
And I imagine, I don't know about you, Dorises, but at the moment, this is the bleak midwinter, isn't it? Let's be honest. I don't think many of us have got much energy for anything, especially not housework at the moment.
No.
I'm just living like a little squirrel in my nest at the moment. I'm just kind of like surrounding myself with cozy things and not giving a proverbial about too much as far as I can help it. I don't know about you.
Very much so. My bathroom taps have decided to break, and I've just accepted now that there's no water. That's it. It's fine. I'll deal. Brush my teeth in the kitchen, is it? That's great. I'll just do that.
Yeah, bathroom taps are quite overrated, really.
Nobody needs them. It's fine.
Sort of pre-COVID luxury.
Exactly. I've got buckets of hand sanitizer and I've got some kitchen taps, and that's all I need. Thank you.
That's the spirit, Doris.
Exactly.
I hear that you've got new music for us, Charley Stone.
Well,
maybe a little bit later we might get a little sneaky peek of.
Basically, I think last time I was on, I was telling you about my album in inverted commas. That I say in inverted commas because at the time it was 33 songs long, that I'd written during the summer, all in a period of 40 days. But as I said to you then, they weren't finished. A lot of them were quite fragmented, and I hadn't finished the words. And I put them to side for several months because I was kind of listening to them obsessively for months. And then I was just too close to them. And I think, like, if you write a book or something, it's good to just put something to one side and come back to it with, fresh ears, fresh eyes, etc. So I just in the last couple of weeks have been going through them all and going, oh, that one, yeah, that one could be like this, or no, that one's not that important anymore. And just kind of getting a feel for how this collection of songs is going to be. And this particular one, which is called Not Your Number, is one that I think it is going to be on this album, but it might not necessarily. The thing is, it's very... The album itself, it's kind of like a Young Marble Giants kind of very kind of clean and quiet and fragile sounding and quite recorded in a bedroom, and it's got a kind of spaciousness to it as well. It's got a very particular quality. And to me, it's very reminiscent of that time when we were all in sort of just coming out of the first lockdown and feeling very isolated, and everything felt very peaceful and also very strange. And some of the songs that I wrote then are kind of more songy, if you know what I mean. And those I want to record with other people and give more of a collaborative kind of feel. And this one is kind of on the cusp. It's like, this could go that way. For now, I'm going to put it out as I've done it, and it might end up in the full collection, or it might just end up being another standalone. Who can say?
Who can say, indeed?
Oh, wait, are we going to have a listen to it?
Yes, go on then.
Let's give it a spin.
Climb up here and see through
loved it. I loved it.
I don't know why I'm
Amazing.
laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing. Of course, you know.
That was
course you did.
great, Charlie.
I loved it.
Awesome.
I thought it was an
Classic
excellent
Charlie
use of the art form of the coda there.
Thank you, Lucy. Yes, I was very pleased with that coda. In fact, when I'd written it, a few days after I'd written it, when I was listening to it on my phone as I was walking around, I actually exclaimed out loud in the street, "Oh God, that's a good coda."
Was there? I mean, obviously the streets are much quieter these days, but did anybody hear you? Do you think?
It was silent.
So there was
one
no
around.
no chorus of appreciation for the coda.
I was walking around in a quiet, deserted street. You know, nobody heard.
Well, that's
It
okay.
still counts.
When you
Still counts.
release it upon the public, then I'm sure there'll be a large swell of appreciation for the coda.
There'll
I
be an
really
exclamation.
liked that coda. Yeah, that was a great coda.
There needs to be more codas.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd like
I
a
don't-
gin and coda.
I'd like a pina coda. That's what I would like. Thank you and good night.
Charley Stone, you've got a lovely voice, so you don't need a vocoder.
Oh,
It's gone too far now. Too far.
oh dear.
Sorry. This is the kind of joke I make with my children because we spend all day together.
I mean, they
So
are,
you don't need
top.
to hear this.
It's top mummy core joking there. I think you'll find.
But I just heard the doorbell.
Oh,
Ding dong.
Who could
Shall
it
we see
be?
who's there?
I think we should.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Helen.
I'm Charley Stone.
Hello, Charlie.
I'm Cassie, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm Kate or
Hello.
Doris.
Or Doris. Yeah.
Okay, you're all
Either will do.
okay.
I mean, I'm a bit confused because I've just been referring to all three of you as Doris. So
I mean, if you say that, like one of us will answer, and that's, we speak for all of us.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah. It's just confusing otherwise. One group name, much easier.
Helen, thank you so much for joining us. Now, Helen McCookerybook, some may know as a singer-songwriter, or maybe you can introduce yourself. How do you define yourself?
Oh dear.
Your many roles that you wear.
I'm a Jill of all trades and mistress of none. No, I'm a sort of a classic sort of person who hasn't planned their life properly and falls into everything by accident, and then sort of struggles to catch up with everything. So when I was a late teenager, I ended up playing bass in a punk band, and I did that I played in bands for quite a long time, for about 7 years, and I was kind of professional actually. And then I sort of burned out.
The cook. So it was the cooks, wasn't
The
it?
chefs.
The chefs.
The
sorry.
chefs, yes.
It was in the spring of 1978. I met you at a disco, you asked me for a date. Little did I know that soon I would have a sore twat. I know now I should not have tempted fate. Nasty little pills and other things I've had to use.
we've got Helen and the Horns got a session on Gideon Coe tonight. So he's dug out an old John Peel session. Yeah, sort of ended up. I mean, John Peel kind of specialised in unhip people, which kind of suited me perfectly, you know. And then I sort of had ages when I didn't really do very much at all. Although I did have a family. I had 2 daughters, and I was kind of classic wife, which the less said about it, the better. And gave up music entirely, but started teaching in universities because they wanted people like me who'd been in bands. And I'd never taught before, and I absolutely found it terrifying, which you're probably going through at the moment, Cassie. But it's it was a really what's called a steep learning curve. But I ended up, while I was there, doing a PhD on people like me, because I realised that nobody'd written about females who played instruments in bands. Well, none of the sort of books that was in university libraries anyway. So, and I was very angry. So I had to kind of learn how to write, which was very difficult because I'm dyslexic. But it ended up being published just by chance. Somebody came into the university and said, "Oh, we're looking for people's PhDs to publish," and I said, "Mine." And that was a book called The Lost Women of Rock Music. And then while I was teaching, a student just said to me, "Oh, do you want to come and do a gig with us?" Because I'd been to see every single band that's in his year. I think it's loads and loads of bands. The only ones I didn't go to see was one that played in the Torture Garden at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was a mum, and I couldn't. And anyway, so I ended up started. This was like sort of maybe 12 years ago, and ended up being an inadvertent solo artist, which I'd never ever done before. And again, absolutely terrifying because I'd always had a band to blame the mistakes on. And so I've been doing that and teaching part-time, and also again out of anger I've written a book about female engineers and producers, which is coming out in March, and which Cassie's going to be indexing.
What is so exciting?
What is your book going to be called?
It's called bugger. It's got one of those
great title.
It's not called that. No. That's what I feel. It's something. She's at the controls. And
that's fantastic.
Nice. Yeah.
What a great topic for a book, because it's like you know, there's never enough writing about women in punk and women in rock, but nobody really has pulled together that sort of women behind the control desk. That's great.
Well, some people have. I mean, Paula Wolf, who I've met her lots of times, and she's written one, but mine's a slightly different perspective, because hers is quite industry based, and mine's very, I would say, personal career based. And we've interviewed some of the same people, but I've read her book, and I'm saying sort of really different things, and I'm actually really quite going out on a limb and saying if it's all men producing, then all we hear is what men think women's voices ought to sound like. And that's quite a personal thing, because when I was recording, I never sounded the way I wanted to sound. And I didn't have the language or the skills to tell people that I didn't want to sound like a little girl, you know. And it's really important that women sound the way they feel rather than the way a man listening to them feels. So that's what the heart of it is. Although I interviewed something like 32 women, which was so nice interviewing people. It's just so interesting. Yeah.
I've just flagged up your Lost Women of Rock music book. I'm going to be reading that. That sounds good.
Well, everything that I write is really interview based. Obviously, being an author, you have to put in your own thing and everything. But almost everything that I do in that side of things, the sort of academic side of things, is giving voices to people who might not have a chance to speak, or might be forgotten, or history might decide they're not important. Because everybody is really, really important. And especially if you're a pioneer in some sense, sometimes somebody needs to turn around and say, actually, you were a pioneer, what you did was great. And for both things, some of the people I've spoken to have never been interviewed before. Nobody's ever paid them any attention. And often it's the people with the least, the most quiet profile, I suppose, really, who have been getting on and doing really, really interesting things. I interviewed a female grime producer, Miss Melody, and very rare producer of male artists, and she was a really interesting woman. Yeah.
This is brilliant. I can't wait to. Well, I'm going to read it really carefully because I've got to. Pull out all the words.
You've got to index it.
Yeah.
I love indexing. I've not done an index for ages. I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, so I'm going to be really thick here and ask what indexing is because I don't actually know.
Well, do you know the index at the back of a book, kind of alphabetical list of terms?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the editorial processes is someone, a freelancer like me, will go through, read the book, and pull out what they think are the key terms that somebody might look up in a book.
Okay.
And then you put them in a spreadsheet and put all the page numbers in, and then you sort the spreadsheet. And it's of course, in the old days you didn't have spreadsheets; you had to manually do the alphabet. Charley Stone has a question.
I know it's not so much a question as a statement. That sounds like my ideal dream job, actually. Indexing. Love it.
It's good fun.
That's the kind of really anal proofready kind of thing that I could do. This is boring, right? But I'm going to tell you anyway. I used to work in databases, and I became, my thing was I would quality check all the kind of relines on everything. I'd go through and check that people had pulled out the most relevant terminology and that it was all indexed properly. So there you go.
Yeah.
I like doing that.
Well, I asked Cassie because I knew that she'd care. I mean, publishers have their own indexers, but I really wanted somebody who had a feel for what I was doing. That was really, really important to me because I suppose I'm absolutely certain everybody cares about their book, but I think because writing is quite a struggle anyway, and you think it would be terrible to get to the very end of that process and it be with somebody who hadn't really got a feel for what you were doing, or
Yeah. Oh no, I'm very, very honoured to be doing it. Really, really looking forward to doing it.
Yeah.
When is this book likely to hit the shelves for us mere non-indexers?
Well, I just suffered the sub-editing process of discovering just how wrong I am about everything. So that's took about a month because of Christmas being in the middle, and the poor sub-editor, not only has she got kids in COVID, but also she broke a leg. So that took a long time, and so I think it's supposed to be that the schedule says March, so I think it's gonna be one of those things where it's a big rush at the end, So yeah,
it's
And
really
I've just-
inspiring. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've just seen online that your first book, The Lost Women of Rock Music, is still available. If anyone wants to have a look, I'm going clicking immediately after this. It looks amazing.
Yeah, we're all buying.
well, it's it's the people in that book are very interesting too. They're so Gina Birch from the Raincoats, Viv Albertine, as well as some of the less well-known punk musicians, female musicians like Shan Bradley, who was in the Nips, who people keep not interviewing, which I can't understand because she's got so much to say. And, the Au Pairs, and I was based in Brighton at the time, so I interviewed a lot of the women in the Brighton bands as well. So it's like a blend of people who are quite high-profile names, but then also some people who did it and then just got on with something else, which is a perfectly valid way of being a musician, really.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that story about Viv Albertine from reading her book, Close, Music, Boys. Because she'd just taken, the same as you just described it, a kind of huge kind of mumming break where she became a suburban housewife, basically, and hung up her guitar for years and years, and then had to reteach herself.
Yeah.
So really interesting to hear that this is quite a common thing that happens.
Well, it's great because the thing is, you absolutely do not care. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Of course.
You don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about you. The first time around, because you're sort of doing it and you're young and everybody wants record deals, you must do this, you must do that. And I mean, why must I do these things? And, you know, I signed to a major label, I signed to RCA, and that was really wrong. Because I was doing music because I wanted to be independent, not because I wanted to be famous, you know. And in the end, you know, like later on, you just think, I can do what I like, you know. And I in 2017, I had a big bust up with this guy I'd been sort of training around the country with for ages. And I thought, I'm going to go on tour. I'm going to do it myself. And it took me a whole month of January, phoning, you know, emailing. And I ended up, I had 9 gigs, but I'd got those gigs myself. And I thought 9 gigs is a tour. I can call that a tour. I'm going on to, and by the end of that year, I'd done 30 gigs because people see that you're out there and they want to help. And the first time around, it was so competitive. Everybody wanted to kill each other. Second time around, you know, you're not young. You're not going to steal their boyfriend or anything like that. And it's kind of, people are just really helpful, and audiences really listen to your words, you know. and it's just a very different experience. I could recommend it to anybody, actually, whether or not you've done it before. It's fantastic just to go out there and see what you can do with your guitar, you know.
I'm not sure if it's an age thing, though, I have to say, because it might be that you were on a major label. Because for me, like, you know, 20 years ago when I was in my first band, I found everyone was really supportive then. I found people would set up gigs for each other across the country. I didn't really feel that people were competing. But then, having said that, a few years later, when I was in bands that were signed, in that kind of level, I think there was a different, because they're people, it's their careers, and people do get competitive then. So for me, I think it's more as soon as you have like a label and all the people that want a cut around you, that's when things become a lot more fraught and there's a lot less helping each other out, in my experience anyway.
This is why we Dorises have avoided getting signed by a major label, really.
It is.
It's very much a deliberate
decision.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah.
I just heard the doorbell. I think there's someone at the door.
Oh, someone else.
Hey, it's Joe.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to see you. So Joe, we've got I'm Cassie. Obviously, hello.
I'm Kate.
Hello, hi.
Lucy.
I'm Helen.
I'm Charley Stone.
Hello, how are you doing? Nice to meet you all. I think I've met a couple of you before in different situations anyways, so yeah.
Yay. What part of Scotland are you in at the moment? Are you in Scotland?
Yeah, I'm in Glasgow, so yeah, it locks down like everybody else, so yeah.
It kind of feels like it doesn't really matter where you are at the moment, whether you're what country you're in. We're all on Zoom.
I know. I am a bit jealous of my friends with big gardens, or you know, that live in the countryside. Being stuck in the city, I'm a bit like, oh.
Yeah, I like to pretend those people don't exist because they just annoy me with their nice gardens.
Yeah, absolutely. Like silence them on Facebook and stuff. It's like,
They always say I'm blessed, don't they?
#blessed.
Yes.
Good for you guys.
Joe, we know you from the Twistettes, who we love the Twistettes so much. Scottish duo, one of many Scottish duos. I did a little list at one point of all the kind of Scottish punk duos that were around at the time. I don't know why that was a thing.
Was there a memo circulated around Scotland that we missed?
I don't know. It's like only get so many people together. It's too much hassle otherwise.
Well, and also just so jealous as well. I mean, there's like a million of us Dorises, which is lovely. But we kind of need to have a million of us because we're really busy and kind of trying to get a schedule together. But if you're in a duo, you just phone up your mate and say, can you do this date or not?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the kind of benefit. Like Nikki and I, because we're sisters, And we've been in bands for years with various different members, and it just did get to that point where it was always us, just like, right, we want to do it, we're going to do this, and other people couldn't do it or whatever, which again is totally understandable. It wasn't from badness, it was just from being busy and having lives. But me and Nikki were like, no, we just want to do it. So that's why we've ended up just the two of us. So yeah, that's it.
Helen was just talking about the kind of difference from kind of being in bands in the past to now being a solo performer. I mean, do you prefer going solo, Helen?
Me?
Or do you miss being in bands?
I miss being in bands until I do a gig with bands and see them arguing. And then I just think, I remember what that was like. And I mean, it's really... for gigging for me it's so much freedom, because it's the one bit of my life where I get to make the rules, you know. And sometimes I go by car and sometimes I go by train, and it's just such a great feeling. I've really missed it actually last year, you know, getting out and just, you know, just like you've got your guitar and you've got a little bag and that's it, and you completely, nobody knows where you are, you know, nobody can keep tabs on you, all that kind of thing. And so the idea of having a band and that organising, I don't like organising things, you know, there's too much organising in life. And the problem is I'm really good at organising. And so everybody always wants me to be the organiser. And doing something that isn't organised is just absolutely blissful. It's complete heaven, you know. So, yeah, I miss the banter, and I miss, you know, being part of a gang. But a gang of one is sometimes the best gang to be in. So your gang of two must be fun, I think.
Well, you're just about to launch another, or you have launched a gang of one show.
Yeah, so I mean, Minerva Wakes is actually Nikki and myself that were involved in the writing. So Nikki programmed the drums, and I kind of did all the rest, all the bass and all the kind of synths and the vocals. But it's probably going to be a project for me kind of taking on myself, kind of beyond this and performance-wise and things, because Nikki's got a little boy, so she's not quite got the time that she used to. And the Twistettes is her first. She loves just bashing drums and making noise like that. So whereas I'm probably going to do something with the Minerva Wakes kind of stage show, whatever that becomes. But yeah, it's a more electronic kind of project. Still pretty kind of heavy and still quite like a lot of kind of gritty bass going on in it. So you could probably tell that there's some kind of strange relation somewhere between the two projects, but it is quite different. A lot of kind of vocal melodies and kind of harmonies and things like that going on, as opposed to the Twistettes. It's just like dead straight down the line. But yeah, so again, that's been sitting around in my computer for quite a long time, in various levels of being completed. And with the time during lockdown, I've just had time to kind of really finish that off, and kind of I've created kind of like a whole story around about it, really. So it started off as 8 tracks of electronic music, and I've added kind of 3-part poem into it, which kind of weaves through the album, and there's also a short story that's kind of come out that goes along with it as well, all just kind of telling the story of this goddess Minerva awakening kind of in something like today's world. It may or may not be actually now, but it's kind of awakening in modern life and just kind of having a wander around, seeing what's going on, and kind of her observations of that and her reaction to that. So it's all kind of weaved into this whole kind of multi-art form project. And there's kind of photography and art and all sorts along with it as well. You can tell that I've not been, usually I do workshops and things like that for my day-to-day, so all of that's out the window. So I'm just like absolutely writing lots and kind of trying not to go insane by being as creative as I can. So yeah, that's pretty much where that's all come from. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. So the album is out on the 21st of March. So I'm just kind of getting the press kits out from now onwards. So yeah, that's kind of happening, and the book will be published around at the same time, so that they kind of can come as a package, or they'll all be standalone as well. But potentially, if people were interested in the kind of whole concept, then they will all be available together. And again, don't know what I'm going to do gig wise. That's we're all in the same boat, but I will do something, a live stream maybe, or I don't know, see what.
Yeah, promotion of new stuff in this time. I think everybody's just not quite sure how to get started with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought initially, because this has been ready kind of for probably since November, and I didn't really know what to do, and I thought, I'll just wait and hopefully we'll be able to do a gig. But I just thought, coming into this year, I can't sit on it for a year, and I think it might be as long as that until we can do something. Hopefully not, but it might be. So I just thought I'm going to get it out there, and then I can move on and start working on other stuff as well. So, but yeah, I mean, we're all in the same boat. It's just so bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, just well done for getting all that done. Oh, hello, cat. We've got a new cat guest. Just well done getting all of that done in lockdown. It's I'm in awe of anyone who's managed to do anything, really.
Yeah, I mean, I really think I just had to just focus down on something and give myself tasks to do, or just because I'm usually so busy with gigs and with the same as everyone really, but with kind of being out and about and doing stuff out of the house. And we've all had very good value on our rents and mortgages this year. At least that's definitely what's to be said. But yeah, thank you though, Cassie.
Shall we have a little listen to your track, Redefine?
Yeah, cool.
Yes, please.
It hasn't been kind of released yet. I've got a couple of tracks up on Spotify, and one video on YouTube right now. But this is not been released yet. This is going to be the video that kind of releases the album in March. So it's an exclusive.
Ooh, we love an exclusive.
That reminds me of, Daniel Miller's version of Warm Leatherette.
Oh.
It's got that same kind of really...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's my favourite single, Warm Leatherette, so that's a compliment from me.
Yeah, no.
That's really, really good.
I really love it. I mean, it's so different to the Twistettes, which I love, but this is really kind of atmospheric.
It's got great
menacing,
sounds on
slightly.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's weird, like just putting a new project out there, because the Twistettes, obviously, have been together for quite a long time, so people know what we sound like, and it's not kind of this giving birth of a new child kind of thing. It feels quite different from the last couple of releases I've done. So it's quite intense. Like, oh, I hope people will like it, and I don't know, but it's I mean, I'm really happy with it, and I hope that's kind of the track where the goddess is kind of just kind of coming to her full kind of recognition and power, and kind of making her decisions on what she's going to do. So it's that's kind of where that track sits within the kind of concept of the album. But thank you very much. Thanks for that.
The thing is, if your Twistettes audience don't like it, then new people will.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's a kind of strange one, because I've got my kind of standard people that I would kind of let know about this, but half of them are kind of into it in some way or other, but a lot are just like, what is that, Joe? I'm not interested in that. But yeah, so you're right. It's just a different avenue and kind of exploring that, isn't it? So yeah, it's quite exciting, really, isn't it? It's, new chat.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's very brave of you to go in a different direction, but I also imagine it might be quite a relief, because I think sometimes that things that you've done become a bit of a burden that you have to sort of carry around with you, and people love to put people in. They love to have descriptions, don't they, for people, and sort of keep people pinned down with a particular identity, and it must be quite good fun to escape from that. Bye.
Yeah, you're totally right, isn't it? It's quite good, and I think obviously what the Twistettes does is quite simplistic, and it kind of is what it is type, and we do have some ideas for how to kind of progress that as well, but it was good just to be like, do you know what, just completely different direction. And like I DJ kind of techno music and stuff as well, so that's kind of where that side comes in from. I was kind of introduced through DJing, so yeah, that's always kind of been another side of what I did, but I just focused on the Twistettes for quite a long time and didn't DJ, so it's nice to kind of bring that back as well. So yeah.
Well, it's also great to show that you can make music that's really influenced by that as well, because it's it's a lot of the time when people DJ stuff, it's stuff that they're DJing stuff that they can't do. And during lockdown, I can do that.
Yeah, and just did it, isn't it? I suppose it's still that punky thing, isn't it? I suppose let's just get on and do something with it.
But the actual technical side of making the music and producing it, is that something that you've known how to do for a while, or did you have to learn stuff?
I knew what I've learned at different stages, and I've done maybe gotten into it for a few months one year, and then a few months another year, and I've kind of gradually built it up over quite a few years. But I did have to kind of dive into quite a bit more, which is, it's not necessarily my I do like it because you can create great things, or you can use technology to make things that sound brilliant, but I like that instantaneous, just being able to hit a guitar and sing a note, and that's it. So it's been a bit of a process for me. I'm like shouting at the computer and nothing ever goes right, because I don't know, I think I've got so people say there's like people that have got a magnetic field that affects computers in a negative way, and I'm positive that's me. Every time I sit at a computer, I'm like, how have I made that not work? Everybody else is fine. But so yeah, I've been kind of technologically challenged in my own limitations there, but yeah, I just had to crack on and do it. And again, because there was no studios open, I couldn't go off and have mischief jumping about at gigs. It was just the only way to kind of express myself was through this kind of computer. So yeah, it's been good to learn what I needed to.
How do you approach recording music, Charley? You have been prolifically releasing music in lockdown.
I really relate to what Jo said about just wanting to, it's just, I like the immediacy of just picking up something and just getting it down. And also because I lose focus really quickly, or not so much lose focus, I get distracted really quickly. So the best way I found for me to work is to just write stuff quickly. If I have to spend like weeks like honing something and going into it and fixing stuff, I just give up, because I've just on to the next idea. I can't really sustain it. I can sustain it for several hours at a time once I've started it, but I can't kind of come back to it with a sustained thing very easily a lot of the time. But also what you said about maybe electromagnetic fields or whatever. I was like, yeah. Because I have loads of static electricity. I'm always like getting shocks from things. If I have a clockwork watch, I have to have insulating tape on it, otherwise it goes fast instantly. And one thing that it used to manifest as was I used to just set off like this kind of weird low feedback hum on speakers all the time. And I remember one time I was in a rehearsal and we were having a bit of a tense moment in this particular band and this particular rehearsal that day, and we were all a bit stressed. And as we were talking and we were having a bit of an argument, there was this hum growing louder and louder from the speakers. And then somebody who'd been doing the kind of like suddenly went, and what is that noise? Who's doing that? And I just went, oh sorry. I just knew it was, as soon as I said oh sorry, it stopped. It's so weird.
Wow.
I've just reread The Power by Naomi Alderman, which is like this dystopian future where women are born with this kind of electricity inside them that they can release, and spoiler, they take over the earth and things go a bit nasty. But yeah, that just really made me think of that, like maybe Charley has got one of these skeins, they're called, that produces electricity that she can use to take over the earth.
I don't know, has anyone else done this in their life where you put your hands together and you feel the warmth? I can't do it as much anymore. When I was a kid, I used to be fascinated by it. I'd go like this and my hands would get really, really hot, like there was this energy going between them. But it doesn't do it so much anymore. But then I'm a lot more chilled out now, so that's probably why.
My sister and I used to be able to rub our feet on the carpet, put our hands close together and make sparks jump between them.
Oh, wow.
Like a little Van de Graaff generator. That was a good party trick. I wonder if we can still do it now. I'm going to ask next time I see her.
That's cool.
Lockdown fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, to get back to your original question quickly, I just want to say I basically, in a technical sense, I used to use GarageBand, now I use Logic, and I basically just plug in guitars and plug in my voice and occasionally a MIDI keyboard, but I really can't be bothered with faffing around too much. It's just me. Can't be doing with the faff. I'm really impressed with people that can.
What about you, Helen? Because you're the professional. You are the teacher of such things.
Well, I don't actually teach Logic. I teach songwriting. But I was just thinking. I mean, I do sometimes. If I'll write something or record something, and I deliberately don't finish it because I want to wait for the right thing to come along, and actually, although on the surface of things, I used to do a lot of programming in Logic and everything, and then I just stopped. And I've got an ancient computer in the kitchen with Logic Express on, and that's what I work on to start off with, because it's so easy. Just switch it on and you record. I've been doing it this afternoon actually, and then I bring it onto my laptop and I edit it in Logic 10. And I do actually really love faffing. I mean, I about sort of 3 years ago, it stopped now because of COVID, but I started to learn how to drum because I had a nervous breakdown, and a friend of mine said, oh, you should come to drumming because it's really good for things like that. And I went, and I've never been interested in drumming before, but I actually loved it. Like sitting in a room, and the final class, because it always changed, the final class was all women. And we did a concert and we played Black Sabbath, Paranoid. It was just... And when I started to learn to drum, I started to listen to music the same way, again, as I did when I was about sort of 17 or 18. And I used to go out dancing every night. And you're actually inside the music. And it's such a fantastic side benefit of learning how to drum, to actually start listening to music that way again, because I'd stopped because of listening to so many hundreds and hundreds of student songs. And so now when I'm kind of making, even though the ingredients are really simple, it's really just voice and guitar most of it, although I've started doing more collaboration recently, but I love to sit there and like, how am I going to make, I've got this sound in my head that I want the voice to sound like, and how am I going to get that sound? And I have no patience for watching YouTube instruction or anything. I have to just experiment. And I want it to sound this and I don't want that to do that. And I love it. And sometimes I'm sitting there and I think I'm really cold. And it's because it's 4:00 and I started at 10:00 in the morning and I forgot to eat anything or drink anything. And I haven't moved. And, I just really, really love it. And I loved listening to your track because I could hear the bits where you'd enjoyed doing it, and I think, yes, and I just, the faffing side of things, I like editing and getting something, getting it exactly right and then listening to it. Now it's right. And I don't know why it was wrong before, but now I know it's right because I've done this thing. And it's fantastic.
I need to qualify what I said though, because I like that kind of faffing. I like kind of cutting, pasting and changing the effects and stuff and getting everything perfect. The kind of faffing I can't do is anything to do with programming. I'm like, I can't, and I love drumming. If I get into a room and play some drums and could record that and use that, then great. But I just haven't got the patience to sit and program drums in. I don't know why. It's just something about programming sounds and, do it using keyboards and MIDI kind of things. It just bores me. And I wish it didn't, because I love listening to those kinds of sounds, but I just can't at the moment find my way into doing it.
You have to call up the spirit of a drummer in your head, and because that's what I used to do. I mean, I'm a really crap programmer, but I used to think, right, I'm going to program this and imagine that this person's playing it. So I would do bouncy, and then then there'd be somebody who's much more kind of jazzy, sort of across the top of the kit, and I would sort of program that person's spirit into it, kind of thing. And it's more fun then because they're in your mind's eye, and it's a bit like kind of sneaking them into the room. And even though you're sort of doing, and I had to do it really slowly because I'm not very good at keyboards, and then speed it up and everything, but it's kind of fun conjuring up people's personalities in your room and seeing if you can copy their energy and stuff.
I think I got I found it quite difficult for a long time, and I tried lots of different programs. So I used Logic, and I used Acid Pro, and I used Cakewalk, Pro Tools. I tried everything and I really struggled to kind of get into it, but I really like Ableton, and I think that's because it's quite for me it's quite like an instrument. So once you there is a bit of learning initially, but once you're in there, it feels like while you're kind of editing and playing about, it's quite intuitive for me. But I mean, everyone's different with what kind of programs they like to use, but I think Ableton's quite good because you can kind of play it almost like a live set as well. So maybe
I think that's a good tip, actually.
Yeah.
I immediately, when you said that, I thought it's like what Helen said about I was thinking I can see how that would work, but I still think the actual process of doing it would annoy me. But actually I just realised, it's probably because I'm doing it in Logic, and I have heard people say similar things about Ableton. I should just give it a go. Yeah,
they're all different. It's different things are right for different people, isn't it? So I would definitely recommend Ableton, because I've got a similar feeling about that kind of thing, that I just want to make something exist without doing it. But then I do identify with what you're saying, Helen, as well, about that kind of going into it and diving. I mean, I could never recreate the same sound twice. Like, a lot of my friends are like, well, to make this sound, you do this, you do that, you do this. I'm like, no, what? I just play about with things and open things and whack up the filter, and so it'll never be the same twice, which is quite annoying if I get onto a second song and think, that sound would be really good here, but who knows how to make it again. But it's just different people's approaches in it.
Basically, I'm going to learn to use Ableton, and I'm going to apply Helen's psychological trick to my work within it and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, Charley Stone, we'll get you back after giving that a go, and see the results.
But isn't it interesting to hear how different people work and how they feel? Because, I think if you work by yourself a lot of the time, well, it's not that you think that you have the only way of doing it, but it's intriguing hearing other people's mindsets, because you sort of think, well, if I ever got stuck, that might be something that I could try.
Yeah, I think that's why it's good to kind of share these things in a forum. And again, kind of with being women, there's maybe not quite as many opportunities for those kind of conversations. So although there is lots of different kind of avenues and kind of groups and things like that popping up, isn't there, for kind of female producers? But it's definitely something that is good when it happens, isn't it, to kind of have those conversations, I think. Yeah.
Well, especially in a sort of relaxed way, because I think it's very, it's very easy to, I don't know, to feel tense about talking about it, recording processes and stuff like that, and to not be able to listen to what other people do. Whereas, the best way of learning is sort of listening to people talking about how much they care about what they're doing as much as what they actually do.
Yeah, for sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Shall we have a listen to what Helen does?
Yes.
There's a link there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Helen, are you up for playing us a bit of a song?
Yeah, it's a funny one, really, because it's a song that isn't really going to belong. And the reason that I'm going to play this one is that I wrote it. It's a conversation. It's because we probably all know people who have are really kind of suffering at the moment with the way they feel about everything. And I wrote this because I felt so effing powerless about, not being able to help someone I knew who was really distressed. If I could only sweeten your sadness and wash away your tears, visit the place you dream of and chase away your fear. If you could be happy, then I could be happy too. 'Cause all I want is the sun to shine for you. When your mind leaves a conversation to travel on its own, well, I feel for you, my darling, as the shadows torment your soul. If you could be happy, then I could be happy too. 'Cause all I want is the sun to shine for you. I can go to where you're low and stay with you until it's through. Try my hardest to undo the darkness that so troubles you. If I could only sweeten your sadness and wash away your tears, visit the place you dream of and chase away your fear. If you could be happy, then I could be happy too. 'Cause all I want is the sun to shine for you. All I want is the sun to shine for you. All I want is the sun sun to shine for you. All I want is the sun to shine for you. All I want is the sun to shine for you.
That was
Oh,
beautiful.
That was really moving. That was lovely.
Well, it's a very kind of heartfelt song. And sometimes I write songs that are kind of sarcastic and, you know, a bit snarky and that. But I just, you know, sometimes you've just got to sort of say what you really feel. And I just find it so frustrating not to be able to make everything right for everybody. And it's kind of, sometimes it feels really powerless to write a song to, you know, it's a bit like sort of, I don't know, giving somebody a tissue when somebody's, you know, I don't know. It's not always the best thing, is it? But sometimes it's quite terrible to feel somebody's pain, and it's the only thing that you can do. So, yeah.
I think giving a tissue is always nice.
Yes. Although I have to say I would never dare play that song to the person that it concerns.
Right.
Because they're being very brave, and I think the whole point is that people don't want people to notice how they feel a lot of the time, do they? And if you've noticed so much that you've written a song, then that's a big notice, isn't it? You know, a lot of people prefer to sort of hide under a stone when they're feeling really bad, and you know, but it doesn't mean that you don't see them hiding there. So, yeah.
Is that a song that you're releasing, or is that just an ongoing songwriting?
Yeah, I've recorded it, but it's a bit. I'm writing an album at the moment, but I'm taking my time because who knows? You know, I only sell things really when I'm on tour, and who knows when that's going to be. I do something every week with a musician called Katie Carr and a couple of other songwriters. We have a songwriting circle. So one of us decides on a subject, and every Friday we have to come up with a song that's on that subject, which is quite hair-raising, you know. And we all work in really different genres. I mean, Katie's partly electronic music, but she plays ukulele as well. Rowan's in Manchester, she plays piano, and Nadja's in Southend and she plays guitar. She mostly does poetry actually, but it's really challenging to come up with something, and but it stops you from getting stuck. You know, sometimes, you know, oh shit, you know, song circle, I better write something really quickly. And so you have to write something. Is
that something that you were doing before COVID?
Yeah.
The world before COVID?
Years and years ago, because all three of them, I used to be their teacher. But it's funny because you sort of have this relationship where you're all equal, you know, and which is quite good really. But no, we started it actually probably about 10 years ago. More than that, because I was married and I lived in this house and they used to turn up in their leopard skin jackets and everybody's curtains used to twitch because I was suburbia. What are those girls doing? You know, with hats, you know. Hats, you know. People don't wear hats around here, you know. But they used to show up and we used to sort of, you know, if it was my house, it was like cake, and if it was Katie's house, it was cabbage soup, and we did. It was quite sort of social, you know, antisocial times of day like Monday morning or that kind of thing, and it takes the kind of the scare out of it a little bit. You know, it's not so all right. I'm very preciously going to sit here and write a song. It's kind of no, you know, let's. What's today's song going to be about? And it's quite brutal as well because sometimes you play your song and it's just tumbleweed. And then other times that was really good, you know, and you start to sort of hear people's habits, and it's, you know, I think sometimes if each other doesn't notice, like Rowan's very influenced by Tori Amos, but I hear these most fantastic riffs in her piano playing. Because I'm a guitarist, I listen for the riffs. Oh, that was a great riff, you know. She'd been thinking about the poetry and the lyrics, and I'd been listening for the riffs, you know. And it's that thing that everybody listens to music in a really different way, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been part of a songwriting group over lockdown as well, so I can identify with that about that kind of having a target, like you need to kind of write something, or at least have some concept to bring to the table, has been quite a motivating thing. It's definitely been really good for me. It's just like a little Facebook thing called Sunday Songwriting, and one of my mates runs it. But there's people from all over the place involved in it, and just they're not really doing anything just now, but they were setting a task every week as well, just kind of like what you were saying, Helen, and then people were kind of getting involved. So yeah, it was like you say, it's just seeing how other people have approached it, and we would come back together, play the songs, and then have a conversation about it. And even if you've not managed to write something, you could kind of be part of that conversation as well. So yeah, it's definitely a good learning tool, I think, and yeah, I would agree.
I do the 20 song game occasionally, which is where hook up with somebody, not like we're in our separate places, but I'll just have one person that's like doing it with me in whatever part of the country they are remotely. We basically, the idea is that you have 12 hours and you have to try to write 20 songs. Now, in practice, I've never done more than like 6. And quite often the people I do it with only do 1. But the fact is, because you've got that, like, so I like it. The idea is, so you pick up your guitar or whatever instrument you're using, and you maybe use different instruments during the day. And basically, the first thing you start playing, you have to make a song from, because the idea is to get the quantity out. And of course, through getting the quantity out, you end up with some quality by the end of it, because you've just made yourself, and you've also done different things you wouldn't have expected. Because sometimes you pick up something and you start playing something, you're like, that's really, what do I really want to do? A song that's just going C, D, G? And you're like, okay, that's what I'm doing apparently. And then you listen back, and sometimes it's that song that you kind of thought was too obvious at the start, that you're like, that's actually really good. I would have never have consciously chosen to do that, but it works.
There was one particular task that I don't know if you know the songwriter Catherine Ruddy. She set this task to write with a song around about a household sound of some sort. So like everyone was like writing to their tumble dryers, or like to the Hoover, or you know, like hitting their radiator and stuff. And it was just amazing. There was so many really interesting approaches to that. So yeah, it's quite wild actually how you can formulate a song out of some kind of strange concept, but yeah.
I think sometimes just imposing limitations and deadlines, and just basically it's pushing the sort of inner critic away for now. It's just going, I'm just going to make something from this now, and it doesn't matter if it's good or not. I'm just going to do it, and you can come back and listen to it later on, and it might be good, you know.
I think the not mattering thing is really, really important, because, I mean, what I've found is that if I write a song that isn't very good, or that I don't, you know, it's had a tumbleweed reception, I can take a bit of it and put it in a different song, and it'll work as the beginning of a different song or a part in another song. And because it's so informal, and because it doesn't really matter, you get, it sort of stops you from being uptight about what you're doing and thinking that everything has to be an important statement or a fantastic musical whatever. And you know, it's made me, I wrote a poem once, because the week before, you know, one of the people wrote a poem, and I said, I've never done a spoken thing, and you know, I wonder what it's like to do that, to not have to worry about having any singing in it. And I found that really liberating, because you can find yourself making rules. You know, you can find yourself building statues all the time, when it's perfectly okay to have a few clouds that just float about, you know. And it's that sort of moving away from being buttoned up about it that's really kind of nice about having to do these, you know, having to do something like that regularly.
I'm totally inspired by all of you. I want to get writing songs straight away. I'm going to set myself a target next week. I've written a song. I decided.
I want to write a song to my washing machine now. That one in particular spoke to me, because I am the NHS now, it turns out.
Doris is now an NHS hero. So.
Oh, what do you do, Lucy?
I run a vaccination centre.
Oh, wow.
Which, again, in that kind of weird way that life is, you know, I've been working in the music industry at a record label for the last 15 years. And then I had a bit of a career break, and now I do this. That's correct.
What's it like? What's it like on the front line of COVID?
It's absolute chaos. It's very rewarding and very challenging simultaneously. I've spent quite a bit of time this week dealing with very tearful old ladies who haven't been out of their house for 9 months, and then suddenly they're in a vaccination centre and there's a lot of people and a lot of movement and everybody's masked and everybody's trying to keep their distance, but it's an enclosed space, and it's just a lot of juggling of people and emotions and logic, and trying to get everything done as fast as possible because we're very much against the clock to vaccinate a lot of people in a very short space of time.
And Lucy, have you had the vaccination in your arm?
I have had the vaccination in my arm.
Woo-hoo. Yeah.
We've been very, very good at making sure that everybody who is kind of working gets one, because you can't really not. Because we're so on the front line, and 700 odd people come within 3 foot of me every day, so we're vaccinating everybody straight up.
Awesome.
So yes,
I mean, this is basically bearing out what my mum said, which is that on a micro level, when she had hers done, very well organised, couldn't be better. It's just the macro level we have to worry about.
It is, and the macro level is me running around doing 12-hour days and practically weeping. But that's fine.
You're not the macro level. I'm talking about the macro level.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
No, you're responsible for the very smooth running on the micro level.
That's true, I am.
Yeah.
I'm also
So
so
well
tired
done.
that I'm so tired that I'm stuck micro for macro. So there we go. That shows how my brain is working right now.
Oh,
Right, and on that note, I've got to go to bed because I've got 5:30 start again.
Yeah, I think we should
Me
wrap
too.
up.
well,
Well,
it's
that
been
is a fantastic job
lovely
that you
to...
do, you know.
Yeah, it's been so lovely to meet you, Helen and Joe, and to have you on again, Charlie. It's
been really interesting, actually, the topic
Yeah.
this evening.
Yeah.
I think this is turning into a podcast about songwriting, because we
It's
often
fine.
talking about the process.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed hearing Helen and Joe's processes and how they work. It's been great.
It's been quite inspiring. Like I've got some ideas about how to write that I wouldn't have previously thought of. So
Yeah, maybe we do this again in a few months' time and share our progress.
Yes, that would be great. I mean, this little social thing is lovely, actually.
Nice.
I'm really enjoying it as well. It just feels lovely to connect with people and just hear different things, isn't it? It's we don't realise how lucky we are, and normal day-to-day kind of to have these kind of connections that we can make. So it's really lovely to have that opportunity to kind of get a chat.
It's almost like chatting at a gig, isn't it? And that's one of the things that I really miss. Just
Yeah.
talking
yeah,
to
that's
people
true.
at sound check time and then afterwards and stuff like that. That kind of banter stuff, but it actually means a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we can hear ourselves talk as well here. So it's a bit of a bonus.
There's no drunk bloke at the bar trying to get off with everybody.
Or coming up to you and saying, "Oh, what pedals do you use? Oh, I've got like a Fender. What's the name? Oh, my wife doesn't like it though, but
And I think if you turn this little knob here, this little knob here,
Or like that charming gentleman at our second ever gig in Leeds who said to me that we were quite a good band, but we would be better if we practiced a little bit more.
oh, it's great to have advice like that, isn't it?
It was very helpful. I asked him if he would have asked a man if he would have made the same comment to a man, and then he ran away.
I know. Well, and the irony as well, we were supporting the Mekons that night as well.
We
the
were.
original Mekons. It's like, I bet they didn't tell the bloody Mekons that they should practice more.
I've just been reminded. Well, I've reminded myself. If you haven't heard it, there's a new song out by Nervous Twitch called All Right Lads, and it's exactly about that. It's about being at a gig and blokes coming up to you and saying, my girlfriend doesn't like it when I'm out too late, but what guitar are you using? You know, who are you signed to? What are you doing with this? And it's basically a list of all those things that blokes say to you at a gig.
That sounds great. I'm going to go and listen to that. Maybe we can insert it into the podcast.
Yeah,
right now.
maybe I'll get hold of it and we can play us out with it.
That sounds like a great idea.
Great tips.
All right.
Right,
So
I'm off to class
absolutely
for a bit.
lovely.
Bye.